So this is Massive, the world's largest cruiserweight, and you're watching and listening to Countdown City WrestleCast. I'm out.
What's up, heels and baby faces? Welcome to another episode of the Countdown City WrestleCast. I'm your host, JC, and I am joined this week by Tommy and Mike.
What's up? I'm Mike, and let me tell you something else, you other podcasters. I don't care if you think you're an elite podcaster. I don't care if you sit at the head of a podcasting table. I don't care if you're a dentist. I don't care if your dad is a real famous NWA wrestler. I'm the greatest podcaster of all time. Oh, hey, sorry, guys. And I love wrestling.
Well, to be fair, he came for everybody in that promo. I ain't gonna lie. So
I'm happy. I like the first part of it. I didn't like the second part of it.
Yeah, I wish they would not have spoiled that promo was coming. You know, it leaked, and I think if it hadn't leaked, maybe there would have been more oomph. But you know, the fact that people knew what he was going to be talking about, maybe kind of took the shine.
I liked what he said about Josh Alexander. That part was great.
Yeah.
I'm just, like I said last week in my 1 minute warning, the little shoot things and the innuendo of it. But anyways, we'll talk about that later if we want.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is an interesting episode because we're not going to be talking about any pay-per-view coming up. But, yes, excuse me. I see you there, Hollywood. Yeah. RIP Massive. And today's a great day to say Feliz Dia de los Muertos for everyone that celebrates Day of the Dead. Good time to remember all those we've lost, friends and family. I'm actually going to be trying to put together a little digital ofrenda for the WrestleCast. Try and do it every year. I just kind of had the idea a little too late to actually put this stuff together. But I invite you guys out there, if you have a picture of a wrestler, a friend in wrestling that has passed away that you would love to be remembered, tweet it at us at CCG_WrestleCast. The tag is at the very bottom of the screen, right below Tommy. Send us the picture that you'd like to include, put the name, and I'll try and figure out a way to digitally add that. For us personally, of course, Tez will be on there. He's on my personal one downstairs as well. It's bittersweet to add that. But today we're going to be talking all about Ring of Honor. And initially, I know I said last week we'd be previewing Full Gear, but I didn't realize they'd pushed it back a week. But in a way, that did kind of work out. But why the hell does all the news come out after we record, after we go live, right? The next day something happens.
I'm waiting. Now I'm gonna have to wait to see what happens tomorrow because, like, literally all this stuff happened like when we woke up the next day. It was like, what the? This could come out like around 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Really?
Yeah.
Wednesday, 6 a.m. Tony Khan bites WWE.
only if Vince has a complete coronary, like right now, like literally right now.
I don't wish that on him. So let's
no.
Yeah, me neither.
All in all, we're going to be talking about the state of Ring of Honor, and we invite you guys to join in as well. Live chat along with us. We're going to be talking about what we anticipate is going to be happening, just the announcement itself. Why is this happening? And what is the future of the promotion? And what we expect to see from the titles, some of the wrestlers that have been long involved in Ring of Honor, and where does it go from here? So, now, if you... excuse me. If you have been living under a rock or away from social media for the last week, then you no doubt have not heard about Ring of Honor's statement for some reason. I will go ahead and read it for you real quick and put the graphic up as well for anyone interested. Ring of Honor put this on social media. They said, throughout the pandemic, our top priority was to keep everyone healthy and safe, and despite not producing our live events over 18 months, we were able to keep everyone fully contracted. We now found ourselves, sorry, I had a typo here, ourselves at a time where we need to make changes to our business operations and are planning a pivot for Ring of Honor with a new mission and strategy. The year will culminate with a final battle in December, and will be taking the first quarter of 2022 to work internally to reimagine ROH. ROH has the most dedicated fans of the industry. There's one on the show, by the way. And we appreciate their loyalty and patience as we can reconceptualize ROH. We anticipate returning to live events in April for the Super Card of Honor with a fan-focused product and provide a unique experience for wrestling fans. And then the Ring of Honor logo at the bottom. Shortly after that statement came out, news was already coming out. ROH talent was being released. BNJ, we see you there. And from what I've heard, basically January 1, 2022, the talent will be released from their contracts. A lot of the wrestlers, Silas Young included, already started to post up, I'm taking bookings, I'm available. I believe right now they're doing the final bit of TV tapings to get them through the end of the year, through Final Battle. Roxy has been posting pictures of herself in the ring, ROH ring, taking pictures, soaking it all in. The first and potentially only ROH Women's Champion that promotion will have. One of the many things to talk about. So as we know, Final Battle is still on for December. And it might be historic because it could potentially be the last pay-per-view Ring of Honor ever does. So, how did we get here? What happened? When the pandemic started, we said on this show we had concerns about Ring of Honor and Impact especially.
How did Impact come out of this the best?
Because they were smart.
Literally,
They're
the best.
Their newer management has honestly, been doing a good job. Not to get too far into them, but
Yeah.
Since they kind of is it Anthem now, or who are they under?
Who owns Access TV.
Anthem owns them, and Scott D'Amore.
Yeah.
And Don Callis up until a few months ago were the ones booking it.
Right, and I just they've been doing a better job with that, I think, overall than it had been previously. So
that helped. They own their TV network. They had gotten onto that before this started. They had a headquarters in Nashville, where they're a little bit more lenient, obviously, about protocols and whatnot. But they also worked with a lot of promotions. AEW is the big one. Some New Japan talent working. A little bit with AAA as well. Ring of Honor, for a while, didn't do a whole lot of shows. They didn't produce a whole lot of TV that I can recall. There wasn't anything major happening. Everyone was just kind of sent home, really. Taking bookings where they could. Hollywood says Tony Khan. Yeah, in a way that did help Impact. The fact that he wanted to work. He's a fan, right? But Ring of Honor is the one we worried about. Yes, it was owned by Sinclair. Sinclair does own some TV channels, but it's not as big of an exposure as Access TV has, or USA, or TNT, right? Which helps all the other promotions. I should stop right there and ask our biggest Ring of Honor fan here, Tommy.
Well,
so, unless you want to go first, Mike. You can.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Tommy, when you read this statement, you saw this news. What comes to mind initially? What are your thoughts, just off the top of your head? Go for it.
Initially, it's completely unnecessary, in my opinion. That doesn't make any sense to me. It makes what do you need to restructure? What needs to change? I don't get what that means, because it's like, okay, everyone points out, well, they lost star power when the Elite left. Yes, no duh. We have said this a million times. Why weren't they trying to really make the newer stars after that? It seemed like for a long time they were focusing on Roosh, which is great. He's fantastic. But Ring of Honor had tons of stars. Wow, Samoa Joe was world champion. It's like, it wasn't just him. The show wasn't all about Joe. He was the champion, so he made a bit most of the time. But this is during the height of the Carino and Homicide rivalry. This is when the Pure Championship was really taking off. You had CM Punk feuding with, I don't know, insert wrestler here. The Briscoes were at the top of their tag team game. And now they had the Pure title. They had the women's division back. They had, they still had some great tag teams. OGK, the Righteous, The Briscoes are still there. Danhausen doing literally anything was hilarious. And now I think he broke his leg, but he even made a shirt out of that. This dude knows how to market. This dude markets himself like nobody's business. He should be successful off that alone. And that's another thing. You had all these guys who had their own star power, but I feel like they weren't pushing anybody.
Just real quick to add in, just on Danhausen, not to totally change subject. Did you know he had gotten on Conan's podcast like last year? He was doing a fan thing. He actually got to talk to Conan O'Brien on his podcast for like 10 minutes, and Conan was asking him about his character. Basically saying that Conan is Danhausen was highly influenced by watching Conan growing up. I just thought that was a cool thing to throw in because cool. I heard about that last year.
But my thing is with that is like, I feel like Sinclair had a lot of hubris, thinking they could do this without more exposure. Because I gotta be honest, I think as many people say that Impact didn't benefit from the Tony Khan AEW crossover, I respectfully disagree.
No, they benefited more than AEW did.
I respectfully, I respectfully disagree because I feel like a lot of people who didn't even know Impact was still on found out because the world title got defended multiple times on AEW either TV or they saw the belt or because Christian was talking about it on social media, and I feel like ROH just did not push that as heavy. And I feel like they figured their own reputation would have been enough to carry them, which it should have.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that they weren't trying enough to me. It really does feel like
that. BOW joining us in the chat. What's up over there?
Oh, what's up?
It says Impact will be okay. They got Wyatt and Strowman coming in. Rumored. Yeah, but, who knows? Who knows, right?
I think you mean Wyndham and Titan
yes.
is what I've heard.
Titan. That was the name I heard him going by. I can't remember what the name was. Yeah.
Hollywood says, I've had the honor, no pun intended, to work for and ring announce for ROH. They have Briscoes, Lethal, Taven, Shane Taylor Promotions, Sledge, PCO, etc. to build on. Agreed. They have the talent. That's the thing. Right before this started, Roosh won the title.
Yes.
And yeah, obviously his title run was delayed so much due to the pandemic. He held it throughout this. But you have the talent there. You were making waves, but maybe the show ratings were down. Who knows, right? I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of exposure for them. They weren't making themselves available. Impact, we've talked before, has had the social media influence. They're big in Europe, in the UK especially. They're always trending on social media. They set up a Twitch channel where they basically set up their own free 24/7 network. When you think about it, which is smart. Heavy Metal Wrestling kind of did a similar thing too, where they would film their shows and put them on Twitch. But why haven't a lot of these smaller promotions done that? You don't have to invest all the money into starting a streaming service. Now, granted, Honor Club is a great deal. I agree with that for pay-per-views and whatnot. But you could run a Twitch channel, put some old highlights. You have an extensive video library.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and the co-broadcast your show with your Twitch channel like Impact does. That was a smart business decision on Impact's part, and I'm glad they've kept that going.
I feel like our ROH. I feel like ROH almost has the same problem that WWE kind of had when AEW showed up. It's like they think that they don't have to do much more just because the new kid's in town. Well, yeah, there's a new kid in town, but the new kid is also doing a lot of things that the fans want, and that's starting by listening to them. Shane Taylor Promotions. I cannot say this enough. Why the hell aren't they the focal? You want a focal point for your shows? Shane Taylor Promotions. That's 5 guys immediately who can be doing everything, and you could add Trisha Dora. Please, for the love of God, let her actually add to the faction someday. Dude, they teased that on an episode after she lost in the tournament, and I was just like, please, for the love of God, put her in the faction one day. And it's like Shane Taylor. I've always loved Shane, but to me now he is miles, and he is like thousands of miles better than he ever was when I first saw him. And I've never had a real problem because he's always had that smash mouth fighting style. But now he's grown on the mic, he's grown in the ring. He's a guy you can put your company behind. You could have. I mean, I get he has this thing going on with Kenny King because Kenny King screwed him over and everything. Why wasn't that kind of done, taken care of, and then feud with Roosh immediately as like a faction leader versus faction leader? I know Roosh is injured now, but I mean then. And nothing against Bandito as world champion. I think he deserves it. He earned it. There's nothing wrong with that. But then you can have Shane and Bandito, who they have history, battle it out for the belt. That's a great David and Goliath story with a face and that kind of sort of face, because Shane Taylor does what it takes to get the job done. So,
Yeah, Shane, obviously we have a big... I mean, my friend Chicken Wing hasn't kept a whole lot with ROH, but he keeps up with what Shane Taylor does.
yeah.
Big fan of his just from him being in promotion, the independents here. So, you know, again, they have the talent. They could have done something to build these young stars up. And, you know, when the Elite left and everyone, they started AEW, we worried about that, but we're like, they're going to be okay. They've done this before, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to necessarily say playing like a devil's advocate, but I think as all of us being real deep in the wrestling world, you know, we know what ROH is and we know what they're capable of and what they have. I think we kind of mentioned it earlier. I think one of the biggest things that actually affected them was actually AEW. Not because they were necessarily taking their wrestlers or anything. I mean, I know you said, I know the Elite left literally started it, but it's really more that when WWE was the only thing, it was easy for ROH to exist with Impact, TNA, kind of going back and forth as that really far behind second and third, where they're not really a threat, but they are entertainment for wrestling fans and stuff like that.
they were kind of, I see what they're kind of the ECW with Impact. But yeah, go ahead. So
in a sense, you know,
yeah.
but so now you have that, and then, you know, they didn't do much during the pandemic. Now, for what it's worth, I want to give them credit for keeping those people under contract during the pandemic. But I can only imagine that Sinclair was like, look, we didn't make a lot of money during this. Like, they probably are not a big profit thing in normal times for Sinclair. And then you had this long gap of keeping them paid while not producing a lot of shows, not producing a lot of stuff. So, you know, just to an outside, you know, most people probably wouldn't know what ROH is. Sinclair, and we can talk about this a little bit later because I know it's on there. Sinclair looking at some other things that, you know, so it sucks, but like I mean, the pandemic really affected everything, and the fact that so many companies were able to try and keep people together under contract. You know, it's easy when you have Tony Khan pockets. WWE was making more money and still started releasing half their roster in the midst of this, you know, almost 2-year pandemic. So, you know, for that part, I give ROH credit, but, you know, what I've heard, for what it's worth, or one of the things I heard, is that they're going to basically look to be a big indie promotion again, where no one's really under a long contract, but they bring you in for pay by appearances or for short term.
kind of like Beyond Wrestling.
Yeah, or something like that,
Okay.
where no one's necessarily locked in for a long period of time.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, what might have also hurt, and you can assume this, people probably canceled their Honor Club subscriptions. Some of the benefits is that you get like advanced tickets for live events. Well, if there's no live events, what am I even paying for? You get discounts on pay-per-views. Well, if there's no pay-per-views, why am I paying for this, right? So, I mean, that's possible. I don't know those numbers. They don't have to release that. B Ninja said, oh, sorry, Hollywood says Shane Taylor Promotions shows up and takes out the Elite. Take my money. That's a very distinct possibility because Shane Taylor's been posting stuff.
If that happens at Full Gear, don't you know I'm through.
You know, I kind of hope they show up at Full Gear, and maybe the Elite show up and do one final thing at Final Battle. if that is the last, Ring of Honor show, and just
that'd be pretty
and
cool.
to keep that story going into the new year with Revolution and everything like that.
So, someone suggested they bring the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Tag Belts with them, and just say that these are the AEW World Six Tag Teams.
Well, I want to talk about that next with the championships. But B Ninja, I feel Sinclair is moving on with another brand and not making good business moves. That we will get into. He also says Sinclair sounds like a sub boss for Art of Fighting 3. Very, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Old school reference there. So what they've said is nothing until April at the earliest. So that's basically means no 20th anniversary show. In March. March would have been the 20th anniversary.
Yes, it would have been.
Yep. And you want to put this in perspective? Ring of Honor and River City Wrestling started the same year.
And I literally thought about that today.
Yes. When I was researching, getting ready for my interview for Brandon Oliver a couple years ago, I was like, wow, it really has been around as long as Ring of Honor. It's crazy to think that. And now RCW, at least for now, is going to outlive it. And they're still going. They're still making shows. They're planning events. Brandon did a good job in the pandemic. He couldn't do shows, but he was doing his Remarkable Wrestling podcast, keeping the interest going there, keeping the marketing up, and then putting old matches on there, things like that. April being the earliest, does that mean they do a live event at WrestleMania weekend? They always do something at WrestleCon, right? Those were the free show, or they weren't really free, but Tommy managed to get in free for both of those events when we were at WrestleMania 32.
Free for Tommy.
Explain that hookup.
First of all, why are you calling me out like that?
I'm calling you out like that because it's been like a few years, and I want you to tell the story how you pulled that off.
So the first, I think it was night one. I know one of the production guys who actually works in AEW now. He got me in for that one. I think yeah. So
did ACH get you into one of them or something?
I'm wrong. Reverse that. ACH got me in free for the first night. He
Okay.
got me free the first night, and because then a guy who had a spare ticket was sitting super close and said he recognized me from the San Antonio shows and let me sit next to him. So I was like real close. I was like third row from the ring.
Right.
The following night, the production guy who's in AEW, he got me in for free that night because he saw me at the show the night before and gave me a free pass.
Wow.
I just realized, and I can't believe it's taken me years to realize this, Tommy, why are you not my opening line when I try to talk to wrestlers online? I should stop trying to be like, hey, I'm a big fan. Be like, hey, do you know Tommy from Texas?
Yeah.
I know him too. Look up,
One of my good friends. We watch pay-per-views all the time.
We podcast together, man.
Actually, it's funny you said that. I just looked at the chat and it's Bird. What Hollywood just said. Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah.
But actually, it's funny you say that because I actually do there was wrestlers that I talk to on Instagram and Twitter. One who's been in Texas, one who's been in San Antonio, two who haven't, and I'm trying to see if I can get them for interviews for the show.
We were talking about this before this, so I'm just going to throw it out there. Jeff Cobb, if you want to be my Lance Archer, I'm down. I totally 100% believe you could give me a tour of the islands. Just like Lance Archer wants to beat up Tommy all the time.
He's like tour of the islands 3 guys at the same time, so I'm sure he can give it to you.
Sounds weird, but yeah.
Hollywood also says
You know what I mean.
Super Card of Honor during Mania weekend in Texas, come back to San Antonio. If you want a place to okay, that's another thing. Where they based their promotion out of during this pandemic
Thank you.
was Baltimore.
Thank you.
And Baltimore, Maryland, for instance, has some of the strictest things, not just with protocols for COVID and whatnot, but injuries. Who was it? Chelsea Green showed up, was wanting to wrestle, but she wasn't, at the level medically they thought she should be. I mean, any other state like Texas where anything goes, or Tennessee where she showed up on Impact and she wrestled, no problem. But Maryland's like, nah, you got to be cleared to a certain level. Yeah, we're not going to do that. And I wonder if that was a hindrance where they were located.
She always looks medically fit to me. So.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
That being said, ROH, if you do decide to change your house of operations, San Antonio is a great spot.
They could.
Texas,
just waiting for you.
Yeah. So
I've been saying that for years. that they should just base it out of Texas because every time they come here, they either sell out or almost sell out. And I've been saying that for years.
But Tommy, the East Coast is so cool. The East.
Don't care. I love. Hey, one of my bucket lists is to be in the ECW arena too. I love that whole scene and everything. It's what I want to do. However, they almost they're like what was that the weekend that Kenny Omega and the Bucks were here. First of all, they could literally get no one else in the building. Like they actually had to stop people from coming in. If you did not have a ticket in advance, you legitimately could not enter the building because it was that sold out. And even in Dallas, even though it wasn't as sold out as San Antonio because Kenny Omega actually had to go back to Japan, it was still a record crowd. And actually, every time they come here, it's a record crowd. Especially in San Antonio, they do well here.
Such a disappointment. I missed that.
It was pretty awesome. I can't lie. It was pretty sick because that was during the whole FTRR thing, and I got to do that. And someone held up a sign, and they asked did I know what it meant, and I got to jaw jack with Kenny Omega for like 30 seconds, which was one of the best moments of my life. So yeah,
and wasn't Stephen Amell also at one of those shows, right?
He was at that show. He wrestled. It was like a 5-on-6 tag match or something like that, where he teamed with the Bullet Club.
Yeah. B Ninja has a new hashtag for you. Hashtag Tommy from Texas. I think we gotta throw that out there. We're trying to get interviews, right?
I need a shirt. I need a shirt from now
San Antonio's got 1,286 promotions. Agreed, but at least 1,200 of those are backyard promotions. Let's not talk about those, okay?
Yeah.
But that is Texas. What do you need to wrestle in Texas or have promotion in Texas? A ring and a crowd. That's it. There's not, some seats in a ring.
A ring, a crowd, and Alex Morosos to be the referee.
That's all you need. Well, that's how you know. If you have Alex, you know your promotion's legit. That's basically it. He's not going to go work for some rinky-dink thing. That's the way you look at it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
I heard Rudy Boyd runs like 700 of them. So
now the question, obviously, January 1, contracts are released. Everyone's on their own. I'll coordinate this. Where does the talent go, and where do the championships go?
Ideally, there are two ways you can do it. Ideally, the champions stick around until they know for sure what they want to do and have maybe them defend them one last time and maybe lose them then. But if you want to do a complete revamp, you actually do vacate the belts, but you hold tournaments for the new champions. Ideally. I would personally keep the titles on the champions who have them now.
Agreed.
And I would actually have tournaments for number one contenders leading up to April show if they have one. That would be me.
I mean, I agree with what you say to an extent, but at the same time, their whole statement seemed to be that they were reconceptualizing, they were restarting, rebooting, if you will. So, would those champions want to stay on under whatever new setup they're under, like if they're not long-term contracts, if they're paid by appearance, or, does ROH want that, like if they're going to reboot or reimagine or whatever they're calling it, do they want to start afresh? So I mean that's something to see what they do as they go forward, because we don't even really, I mean, we've heard rumors, and like I said, I heard one thing that was a possibility, but we don't even really know, and maybe they don't even fully know what this reimagined ROH will actually look like.
I think sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I was going to say, keep it on them and let them defend it. B Ninja pointed out something I was going to say. Roxy has been defending her title. She's been going to promotions. She's been defending the ROH title.
Yeah, she defended it in like New Texas Pro and everything.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
I see no reason why Bandito, who else holds a title? Josh Woods. Can you imagine a Pure Wrestling Championship match on your local promotion for that Pure Championship? Just explain the rules well, okay? Dragon Lee, the TV Championship. Well, that might be tough. You got to go somewhere that's got TV exposure, right?
That was a little tougher to defend.
Yeah.
Take a step back. Josh Alexander and Josh Woods.
Ooh, boy. On Impact TV?
I'd be down for that. The Impact TV. I'd watch that match in Hope of Glory again.
If you are dead serious about bringing Ring of Honor back, New Vision or otherwise, you need to allow the current title holders to travel and defend the titles, and in some cases potentially lose them.
Should have been the plan from the start.
Yes. If you do that, it keeps the ROH name out there. We can, if Bandito loses the title to, I don't know,
Super Shot.
no.
Then you know the titles are getting rid of them. So
Okay, if he loses it to, let's be more realistic. Let's say just Chris Marvel at a hybrid show. There, keep going.
Okay, cool. Imagine how that
on the wall of the gym.
that'll get reported everywhere. People are gonna want to know who's the new title holder, who's everything like that. And even if
Chris Marvel is an ROH original. If you watch like the old 2002 DVDs, so
yeah, I mean, there are ways to do this to keep the name out there. As far as how ROH comes back, my initial thought with what they said and what they want to revamp is that they're going to go the route of Lucha Underground. A little more heavily produced, make it like a season thing, so there's not a full year commitment of the talent like we do seasons, right? The biggest clue of that is the other bit of news that was announced that Sinclair and WOW, Sinclair and WOW, Women of Wrestling, have reached a deal for weekend programming starting in the fall of 2022. So it's not immediate. It's still another year before they do that. But WOW is famous for doing seasonal thing. Okay, here's season 1 of WOW. Here's the storylines we're building up. Here's where we're going to go season 2. It's what Lucha Underground does. And for Ring of Honor, that may take the stresses off having to heavily produce shows year round. You can do a season and have it culminate with like you have like a mid pay-per-view in the middle of the season, and you have another one. Yeah. You know, that's one way to do it.
I'm not against that. I don't see the point of closing shop, then having to do that. And see, because here's my thing. I feel like when like Impact kind of switched their styles, it was kind of obvious, kind of not. But they still had the shows going, which kept interest in the company. See, that's the only thing. This makes it seem like they're killing the company. That's the only thing. It's perception is 9/10 of everything. It feels like they're killing the company with this, especially when they openly, negotiate with WOW. And this is nothing against WOW because I don't have a problem with them. But when you announce on Wednesday you're taking a hiatus with your company, on Friday you announce you already got a deal with another company, that's kind of telling. That was my biggest issue with it and why I feel like they were doing ROH dirty. Because it was like, it feels like, you can at least wait a week to say that shit. You can't, don't wait, don't even give it a solid 48 hours if it was that long before you announce, hey, I work with another company though, so, it's all good. No, it's not. It's not all good at all.
Hollywood, how well did that work? Did Lucha Underground end up? Not good. Yeah, I agree with that, but maybe ROH can do it right. There's other ways. But this news, Mike, with WOW, with them even just shutting down shop completely, is ROH up for sale? Do you think we're going to get that news in the foreseeable future?
I mean, I guess it's a possibility. Sinclair's a business, and if they felt like it was losing them money, which seems to be what it was, but we keep talking about what their plan should be. And it says so in their statement. We're going to take the first quarter to work internally and reimagine. So I'm not sure they're even 100% sure at this point what. Maybe Sinclair told the people running ROH, this is what you're going to do. You've got 3 months to figure out what this is going to become. Maybe it was like that, and maybe that's why WOW is not starting right now, but they're giving them that year because they got that in the back pocket to see what ROH does, because they've been with ROH for a while when they bought what was it, Tom? You probably know better, that Sinclair bought and had the rights to ROH from, or maybe they bought the company that owned ROH. I forget exactly how it worked.
Something like that, yeah.
I think they bought the company that, because ROH used to be part of this whole thing with Dave Prazak and everything.
Yeah.
But then they got under Prazak's umbrella. Then they were their own thing. They were Oh God, what was the company that owned them after that? I can't remember who it was.
I remember hearing about it a long time ago. But maybe it's, they're giving them a chance because, they've been with them a while, but, they're hedging their bets, if you will, too, because maybe they're not sure that they can keep it together or keep it what it was. It just seems like there's still a lot of unknown. I know we're kind of diehards about ROH, but I can only assume the people making decisions in Sinclair are just businessmen, and it's a bottom line and a dollar to them. So
I can't help but feel like the companies that are doing the best right now are run by people who either have been in wrestling most of their lives or are wrestling fans. Tony Khan, diehard wrestling fan, and I remember like people were saying, he has the final say in creative. He gives people creative freedom, but he has final say, which makes sense. It's still his company, guys. It's the same with Vince. It's the same probably with Scott D'Amore and Impact. I'm more than positive any decision that they make backstage, he has to say okay to. Mm-hmm. So I have no problem with that personally. But it feels like he still has the wherewithal to say, yeah, sure, that'll work, or even like, no, maybe let's retool that a bit. Same with Scott D'Amore. You know what? To an extent, even same with WWE. It's hit and miss most of the time, but even the same with them. ROH, it feels like they have this.
Well, do they have that guy?
They have the guy in the booking, but I don't know if he gets the final
say. Right, and he might not have. He might not be the money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Delirious, I think is still the head booker. Which to this day cracks me up because his character and his actual smarts are two completely different things. If you want to talk opposite ends of the spectrum as to the guy who runs the company and the guy who wrestles, you cannot remotely get the same person.
But I love that his actual name is never used as the booker. It's just never. Delirious is the booker.
Just Delirious. It's just and in my head, like kayfabe, I just see him like in an office, full mask, and like babbling his instructions, and everyone understands. Like Charlie Brown with the teachers, just womp womp and just do that. Like, okay, got it, and they just go tell everybody else what he just said. But
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah, seriously. But it's like he has booking decisions to an extent, but then also what do they want? Now, I'm not gonna pretend like everything ROH did during the pandemic was a bad idea. Keeping Rush as champion and making him heel, LFI, great idea. Other promotions, I've already praised them enough. I'm going to do it again. It was a great idea to make them a stable. Bandito and Brody King's Violence Unlimited, because Homicide showed up back on ROH TV, which I will always be a supporter of. Fight me. And they had all that good stuff, but it feels like still, it feels like they wanted that elite, like that Adam Cole, Young Bucks, Kenny Omega star power immediately. I think just like when people like talk about how they build up the MCU, they forget the years Kenny Omega was on no one's radar, and when he had a good match, it was a surprise because no one knew he could wrestle. They forget the years of the Young Bucks just being the tassel guys who super kicked a kid in that one video that passed around on YouTube for about 100,000 views, maybe. They forget the years that they forget that time Kenny Omega wrestled a literal blow-up doll, which again was probably a much better match than you'll get on Monday Night Raw sometimes, and I hate to admit that.
But also true.
Yeah.
But or that time Kenny Omega wrestled a what 7-year-old girl who again gave him a better match than a lot of you'll see on Monday Night Raw a lot of the time. But it's like you forget that there were those years in DDT, in PWG, and name your backyard promotion here that those guys were at, and they were opening match or middle of the card, even no press, no one cared. Mm-hmm. Then they built up, and now they're household names in every wrestling fan's vocabulary, or hatred, whichever side of that fence you're on.
Hollywood says it was Marty Scurll for a bit too. He was the guy that stuck around. He also says like Jim Herd running WCW, right? So,
but again, all those, when we talk about Tony Khan, Vince, even Jim Herd, and then Bischoff for a while, there were deep pockets behind them.
Right.
So I don't know if the pockets, Sinclair's pockets behind, Delirious, whoever is at the same level of some of these other promotions that were able to stay big for a while, and that seems to be a big play, a big reason for what's going on here. Again, give them total credit for keeping those guys paid during the pandemic, but that comes at a cost too, unfortunately. So
Yeah, I don't know if they do. Obviously, their business is a lot of like local affiliates for channels and stuff, local news, that sort of thing. That's kind of where they hang their hat. So I'm sure there's a lot of money in that, but it's not at the level that a Tony Khan has.
And not focused on the wrestling itself either, right?
Exactly.
Vince's money is focused on the wrestling. Tony's money is focused on the wrestling. Ted Turner put a lot into. I know he had a lot of other things, but he put a lot of money and allowed Bischoff to spend a lot of money.
Yeah,
we're not sure that Sinclair, even if Sinclair does have the money as a company, if that's focused on ROH.
Anthem has other projects, but they invest the money in Impact, right? They give the freedom to do that sort of thing. Hollywood says Generation Me. But, even at the NWA level, it's focused on wrestling. Sinclair's more worried about other things. So I wonder if was this something Sinclair said, or was this something ROH decided internally, and that's why Sinclair looked at getting does a backup plan,
I really do think that biggest detriment was not taking advantage of what everyone else was doing during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Because to NWA's credit, they let a lot of their people do their own thing.
Yes.
Because, because of this. Like, that's how we got Eddie Kingston in AEW. And again, I can't, we don't know the backstage conversations. I feel like they could have also taken advantage of the AEW Impact, kind of cross promotion, and done a little something with that, or done more with New Japan, which I don't know what the hell ever happened with that relationship. That just fizzled out like nobody's business.
Why aren't they involved with New Japan Strong? Why aren't they involved with that? That's what blows my mind, how they're not even remotely involved with that.
Okay, this is what makes me think it's something about either ROH's, either the head office or maybe Sinclair itself. Because Rocky Romero felt like he was pushing and pushing, or maybe it was New Japan saying no to it. I don't know. But it felt like Rocky Romero was pushing and pushing and pushing to have something happen there. Because Rocky Romero will show up anywhere. It feels like Rocky Romero was the guy who could single-handedly save pro wrestling and more people would listen to him. Because he shows up everywhere. This dude will wrestle on any cards you got. He will be the opening match. He will be in a battle royale for 5 minutes. He will be in your gauntlet, your whatever match you put him in, and it'll be probably one of the most entertaining things on your whole show, whether you like it or not. But it feels like most people don't take advantage of that because he was at Impact. He had showed up at AEW. He's universally loved. Because the guy's just that talented and he's that cool to be around. But I just don't think that like I said, I really think they thought they could do it on their own, and that's a nice sentiment. But sometimes you got to be like, hey, can't. And I should probably go ahead and bite the bullet and work for this other company that still has millions of people following them on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Hollywood says also Ann Starks, Ricky Starks. Yeah, of course. Burnsy, hello everyone.
Yeah, Starks. Yeah. Sure. I almost forgot Starks was in NWA because of his AEW Impact already. It's like, jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where it goes. And once he got on there, he was able to fly.
Yeah, I said that kind of started his momentum. Yeah, that's true.
As far as where this talent goes, obviously people are going to wonder who's going to sign with AEW, who's going to sign with WWE, who's going to sign with Impact, who potentially could sign with New Japan as well now. I don't think anybody is going to WWE. And I say that because WWE has made it known with this NXT 2.0, they're focused on trying to find athletes with little wrestling experience so they can build them up the way they want them. They pretty much seemingly made that known when they rebranded NXT and just basically took Triple H off of it completely, right? Yeah. So I don't. They wouldn't use the Briscoes well. It's not a Jay Lethal. No, I just the talent that they have. I don't see any of them going to WWE where they just could sit there and not even used properly.
I pray to God they don't get Jonathan Grisham. Sweet baby
Jesus.
Sweet Russell's taught me there's no fear of that. Don't worry.
I'm pretty sure Gresham will go to Impact where his wife is.
Him and Josh Alexander.
Could you imagine if they did a storyline where he shows up to steal the digital media?
I forgot about that.
No, and you know why they could. But see, they could And then I could see them posting videos of them just walking around the house and like Jordan Grace just looking at him like, okay.
Please,
like,
dear God.
He's like, babe, I just want no, fine. Enjoy your title reign. Enjoy it for as long as it lasts. He's like, crap, this was a bad idea.
Please, dear God, do not put a 24/7 rule on that title, because you know they're gonna do something at home. Who knows where he's gonna like pin her in her sleep or something? Who knows? So
and I feel like they have like I think 2 dogs. And I feel like something will happen where a dog will be champion for like an hour, and I feel like
Just DDT.
Oh my God!
First of all, that's like the most fun belt in all of wrestling.
I know it is.
I don't even care
How
anymore.
many inanimate objects have been the champion?
Yeah.
Of the build?
I see
There
it.
was a cat as champion for like 5 minutes because like she was playing with her cat and like the referee just showed up out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. She's like,
It was
wait.
like a cat, a ladder, or a chair. Different.
Several fans have been
Yes.
DDT.
Yeah.
One of the guys at Cultaholic got in on that when they were doing stuff. One of their presenters has been the champion. Yeah, it's hilarious.
I can see a lot of the talent Ring of Honor going to places like New Japan Strong and Impact. The only talent that definitely makes sense for me to go to AEW is Shane Taylor Promotions, because they can do so much with the Elite. But by the same token, I want them also going to New Japan Strong, potentially even New Japan, and doing something with the factions over there. You know,
Yeah.
They're built for that. We said Josh Alexander versus Josh Woods. That makes sense on Impact. A lot of this talent makes sense on Impact and New Japan.
Yeah.
In the case of the women's division, you got Impact, you got AEW. If AEW really wants to build that women's division up, you got the talent right there to do it. Roxy versus Dr. Britt Baker, anybody? You know?
100% down for that.
Yeah. Hell, Roxy versus Mickey James. Or even Deonna
Yeah, I'm
Purrazzo.
down for that.
Yeah. So
I also think that a lot of them might end up going to just the NWA for a while because
Yeah.
NWA is closer to what they're used to, and NWA does do good shows. I'm not even gonna pretend like Billy Corgan doesn't know what he's doing, to his credit.
I also wonder if any of them wind up in WoW doing more character-based stuff, since that's kind of WoW kind of sticks to the more character story like you were talking about. That'd be interesting if any of them wind up there. Maybe like Maria Kanellis or stuff like
Maria
that.
might fit in there too, and I feel bad for her because she had taken over and really was wanting to build this division up into something. She was doing such a great job.
She was doing a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was.
You know?
Mad.
Hollywood says Briscoe's to AEW. That makes sense.
Oh, just for the Elite, for FTR, for the Lucha Bros, for just take it like a tour of all the tag teams.
FTR has already.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
And Jay Briscoe was like, yes.
even Briscoe's going to Impact and taking out the Good Brothers. Can you imagine? You know.
100%. I can imagine, and I want that.
I just think of the joke of they go to WWE with all those tag teams like the Usos and the Street Profits and
the Usos
and a bunch of other wrestlers that were paired together for no appearance.
WWE would not know what to do with the Briscoes. That's for damn sure.
New Day and Hit Row at Hit Row at this point, and it's like that's it. It's like, whereas for the 4 tag teams that WWE has on a regular, there's like at least 3 to that in AEW.
Yeah. By the way, they're all minority tag teams too. That's
take it, damn it.
that's pretty cool.
Binajal says Miranda versus Thunder Rosa. Yep.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I'd like that for sure.
Yeah. Final question I have here. And guys, thank you everyone for participating. Feel free to answer all this and share your thoughts as well. Is this the end of Ring of Honor?
No.
I refuse to believe it.
They'll resurrect in some form, even if it's a little different than what we're used to.
I'm sorry. I refuse to believe the company that gave us Joe versus Kobashi, that CM Punk became a star in, that gave us Samoa Joe in the first place, that gave us so many memorable moments in pro wrestling, is going to die that quickly for because I'll say it like this: when ACW faded away, unfortunately, the writing was a bit on the wall. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, weren't around for as long. When you look back at the history of ECW, like as Extreme Championship Wrestling, it wasn't as long as you think. It really was just a few years. But ROH has a going on 20-year legacy. Yes, they fudged it up to, like a few times. Insert wrestling company name here. There is not one company that has not done that. As sad as this is to say, one day AEW will have a bad year or two. It's just gonna happen because that's the nature of the beast. I do not, but just like I said when AEW started beating WWE in the ratings war, everyone who hated WWE, I had to say you're gonna be disappointed. WWE is not going anywhere, even if it sells it. It does not mean a damn thing. That just means WWE will be under new management. They are not going anywhere because they are a global entity. ROH is a pro wrestling staple to me. And even if it changes how they do things, it's still around because, like, the company, the belts they have, and the matches they've had, it's just too much of a lineage at this point.
Yeah,
if they go down, it'll be in a blaze of glory to me, and this just isn't it.
B Ninja says he hopes not as well. He says ROH 2.0, which could you imagine for the 20th anniversary, the 2.0. 20th, you know, we can throw that out there.
That would be the only time I would allow that, even if I wanted to get rid of it immediately after the show's over.
Let's just take a few minutes to reimagine those the ROH 2.0 names
with the tie-dye logo and everything, right? You know,
both of you hate me, don't you?
No, not to your face. Hollywood also says Bryan Danielson. That's another talent. Yeah,
I hate you too. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding, Tommy. I love you. Bina says, I miss ACW too. They had their slopes, but this is how I met you guys, an amazing talent.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
I've told y'all this too, guys. One day we need to find a weekend with hours in the Saturday to just reminisce about our time at ACW, ROA, RCW, and just all those indies we hit for that. Like, for us, it was about 2007 to about 2012 where we would really go strong. For us, like, I know, Tommy, I know you've kind of been going the whole time. But, like, for me and JC, when we all met and...
Yeah.
No, but I know what you mean though, because like those were like, again, like you said, some of the best times was because I laugh because I remember especially like I was never really in 5150 officially or team FF.
Yeah, I was nostalgia too.
But I remember being kind of like I was like I feel like Switzerland. I was the neutral ground for both groups to talk to and meet. It's like, okay, guys, be calm.
Well, you know, TFY sure disappeared after a little choke job that they had at RCW. Didn't really see much of them.
Okay, so
oh my God, I remember. I forget. I just remembered. I forgot that we used to have like fan group wars.
Yeah,
like
talk about factions, buddy. Yes.
So. I know, because Brandon Oliver was worried to death. Like, there's gonna be a war, and I can't stop it because they don't work for me.
Capitalize on it. If they're having a little fan wars over your promotion, hey, run with it. You know, I mean, shit. You know, there's so much. There's so much to it. You know, I still have my 5150 Mafia shirts hanging in my closet. So
you know, someone was playing the Halloween, "This Is Halloween" song, and all I could think about is the Halloween Crew.
Oh my lord!
We used to come out to that. I mean, I don't know who was under those masks, but I felt like we knew them.
We have a good idea.
I can't express how disappointed I was in myself for how many years I didn't know it was them.
Did you really?
I didn't. I really didn't. I can't express how disappointed.
Like, I just like, especially one of them.
But it might have been like a year and a half to 2 years that I didn't know for sure. But the fact that it took me that long, it just.
I feel like for one of them, just the way he walked and moved, like, I don't know, maybe because we knew them a little bit after spending a bunch of time with them at shows.
Suddenly, one of them had better charisma than the usual guy. You know, I just like, come on, right? Being it's just 2010 for me, yeah. There's just so many great years on the independents, and Ring of Honor could help in a way. This hiatus can help them revive the independents. Can help them. Things are slowing down. Hopefully, now with vaccines being approved for children as young as 5 years old, and maybe as people just stay smart over the winter, so there's not another flare-up for lack of a better term, we can be good, and maybe 2022 will allow that. Wow! Imagine my first indie show was ACW Queen of Queens.
Oh, that's an amazing show to be the first one.
Boy, mine and Mike's, I believe, was the RCW show that was Royal Rumble weekend in 2007.
It was like Texas Explosion 3?
Something like that, yeah. RCW at Bel Air Baptist
Wasn't it
Church.
something like that? Yeah.
And the only reason we found out about it is because we went to back when WWE would go to like shopping malls to do like autograph sessions and whatnot.
Yeah.
And somebody was handing out flyers, or it was on my car or something for RCW show that night. We're like, hey, we got nothing else to do. Let's fucking go. Went, Hernandez and Homicide were there. Loved it. The first match I remember was Gemini versus, I don't know, but all I remember is that Gemini chopped somebody. It was loud as fuck, and we were hooked.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can reminisce on the indies, but when it comes to Ring of Honor, I hope this isn't the end, but in my mind, obviously I'm going to be finding some way to watch Final Battle, and in my mind I'm going to be thinking this is the last pay-per-view of this promotion. Sadly.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
I would love for Supercard of Honor to be a good way for them to relaunch, but for ROH as we know it now, Final Battle is appropriately named the last show. But we'll see. I mean, there's no guarantee that we'll get more of this, and I hope it's not it, but let the champs defend their belts where they go.
Just win the lottery. Damn.
That is one more question, though. If they do go for sale, who buys them?
Sweet baby Jesus, Tony Khan. I have no idea how badly, if that happens, I want Tony Khan to write the check first.
And then Shane Taylor interferes in a AEW dark match and says, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here."
Yeah.
In a Canadian tuxedo, by the way.
But then he goes, and I'm lying. All of you know who I am, know exactly why I'm here, and we're not kidding anymore. We've got to beat up the Elite.
I'm not Scott Hall. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I know WWE themselves would probably, since the contracts are going to be released, all people are really buying is the name in the video library. And, WWE added the ROH video
Again,
library.
I wish I could win the lottery. So.
Yeah.
Oh, because I always wanted to find Supercard of Honor Season 4 on the Peacock. that'll be fun to look up.
Well, I mean, if AEW buys it, maybe they launch their own streaming service.
That would be much better.
It'd be worth it at that point. So, and something.
I would consider switching my $9.95 and just buy the Office DVD set finally.
Hollywood says Final Battle will either be great or a dud.
That scares me. That scares me.
I mean,
it does seem like it's going to be a swing or a miss. So yeah.
The crowd will definitely be into it, and I think the wrestlers, knowing this is the last show under their contracts, will definitely be pulling all out. So, my hope is that when all is said and done, at the very least, Roxy walks away at the end of 2021 still the women's champion and still defending that wherever she goes.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that. We are going to get in now into our 1-minute warning segment. For those of you guys that might be new or haven't followed the show as much, this is really a chance for each of us to spend a minute talking about whatever we want. We might discuss it a little bit afterward as well. Mike, do you have something you want to talk about this week?
Yes, I do.
All right. Whenever you are ready, sir. 3, 2, 1, and go.
All right, guys. Some of you, if you follow the show, know that two of my biggest things that I really enjoyed in WWE over the past year or two had been Bayley and Cesaro, of course. And Bayley got injured. Cesaro lost to Roman Reigns, had a mini push, and then kind of disappeared and just puts on really good matches and loses. Well, if you have been following, WWE is doing a Europe tour. And they decided to announce, oh, hey, Europe fans, guess what we're going to give you? Walter versus Cesaro. Why is this not on a TV? Why is this not on a pay-per-view? This goes back to what we talked about yesterday, that it frustrates me with WWE. They could do this at any time they want to. I realize you don't think Cesaro has charisma and isn't going to be a Roman Reigns or a superstar, but Jiminy Christmas, give me Cesaro and Walter instead of a lot of the crap you put on. Okay, you tried to make Jackson Riker, or whatever his name, a face after he got in trouble for saying a bunch of racist things. And you're like, yeah, he'll be a face. His teammates got fired and released. He stayed on. Just want to throw that out as well. Cesaro, I know you're just a good man, and if you're happy where you're at, but, oh, man, like the matches you could put on in some of these other promotions, need a drink. That's all I got.
What do you expect from the company that gives the title belt to a guy that has a DUI and made?
You got to be more specific. I feel like that's a couple people.
Well,
yeah, fair enough.
You know what I'm talking about recently. Yeah.
I also want to, and to piggyback off that, point out this is the same company that'll give us Baron Corbin and Nakamura for like the 8th time in 5 months.
They will draft them to different shows and continue the feud when the whole point of a draft is to shake it up. Also see Carmella versus Liv.
Both which make no sense. And
yes.
Yeah. Congrats, by the way, to Carmella and Corey Graves. They got engaged. So we'll throw that on there.
Good job, Corey Graves.
Good job, Corey.
You outpunted your coverage, but congratulations, my man.
Nailed it. All right, Tommy, you got something this week?
Actually, yeah, it's almost the same vein as Mike's, but yeah, go ahead.
But the New Japan version?
Close. AEW.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
Okay, so in piggyback off that, while WWE gives us those matches off TV, or for the Saudi shows, weird, it's like AEW is determined to for at least one show a week give us a pay-per-view quality match. I say that because Pac and Andrade wrestled their second match recently, and whereas I just got through preaching about Baron Corbin and Nakamura, at least in this case, both those matches were barn burners, and this second one was, I think, better than the first one, to the point where I'm looking forward to part 3. And again, also, of course, in that same vein, the Cody and Black thing, everything like that. But here's the key difference: there's storyline progression, and there's a legitimate point to it. And it's like, and the thing is, with those matches, they feel like the big fight feels like when the matches are return matches for a feud, it's like this actually means something. And I think that has a lot to do, of course, with the point system and the win-loss record and all that kind of stuff, and everyone trying to jockey for position for number one contender for everything. So it doesn't feel as cheap, and it doesn't feel as bloated. The company that has an admittedly smaller roster, the company that's been around for the past, in essence, 50, 70 years, compared to this company that started 2-3 years ago, that has a smaller roster, less TV time, and yet still puts on better, more compelling, more interesting matches and storylines. And I don't care what anybody says. I know people online were complaining, big shock, that the Halloween match on Dynamite was like, with the Elite, with the Proton backs and everything. I don't give a damn what anybody says. That match was fun as hell. That was amazing.
It was fun, and it completely helped the storyline.
Yes.
So
yes,
that was fun.
That the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man getting his own back against the Ghostbusters was like 30 years of good booking. I don't care what anybody says.
Long term.
The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man with that return trip, like, yeah, I'm back, bitches. What you gonna do now?
Real quick, Hangman not being able to get that costume.
Man, dude, that was the funniest thing.
He even commented about it on Twitter later, but like you see him and he's doing moves and he has to like keep his gait, like, he can't go too far in his stride. It was hilarious.
There's a YouTube comment that said, "Legend says Hangman still hasn't gotten that costume off his feet."
Hollywood says Danielson versus Fish, among other matches. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
God, that match was amazing.
And I'm sorry, Jason, before you go, real quick, I'm going to piggyback off your piggyback with one more other thing when you were talking about the win-loss records and it matters.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is not a slight at Liv, because I love Liv. I don't understand why they keep giving her the Cesaro treatment of starting to push and then she'll lose.
And she's one of theirs. Like, they built her up.
but she has lost recently in the tournament to Carmella. What happens on Monday? She confronts Becky after Becky beats Belair. I love it, and I'm down for a Liv Becky match, but why would she has lost? Like, she just lost several matches. I just don't get it.
Because wins and losses don't matter in WWE.
Obviously.
I think they're just doing the reverse of whatever AEW is doing. They have a win-loss record where the winner wins off, where the winner gets chances, the losers get chances in this company, damn it.
They do all this stuff that makes sense. We're going to do stuff that doesn't make sense. That's basically what it is. So, for my 1 minute warning, I mentioned at the top of the show that it was Dia de los Muertos. I want to take time to think about all the people in my life and some wrestling related that we've had to put on an ofrenda. I had the liner for the show, if you watched from the beginning, was massive. Rest in peace, that was tough. Michael Faith, Jacob Ladder, and my cousin Clarissa from McAllen. We would talk wrestling all the time through Messenger, hoping to one day go to an independent show together. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. My grandfather, who I say allowed me to see the world. For so many summers, we just jumped in the RV with him and just traveled all over this country and got to see so many states because of him and see so many parts of this country that most people don't get to see. But then Tez, for the WrestleCast, that was tough to print that picture out, and I didn't realize it so much. But I guess I'm grateful that I've befriended so much of his family and friends through his passing. Whether through the GoFundMe that we started that raised so much money to help his family, and I'm so glad it did because they needed it. And to Min, who we still love and support you. It just sucks in this pandemic because we can't all get together and share Tez stories because there's so many. A memory popped up recently where UTSA was playing Texas A&M. It was actually a few years ago today. I think it was 2019. And, Tez is a A&M grad. I'm a UTSA grad. So I was so happy UTSA beat the spread. And so I just said on there, yeah, boom, beat the spread. Suck it, A&M. And put the screenshot of the score. And Tez was like, yeah, whatever, gig 'em. And I always had that with Tez. But, hey, Tez, look at my Roadrunners now. So I hope they keep that going. There's so much in wrestling that we've lost over the years, and I just want to reiterate, I'm going to put together a WrestleCast ofrenda, hopefully present that on this show next week. So if you have anyone in wrestling you would love to see on that altar have remembered, it could be one of your favorite wrestlers that passed away, the obvious ones like Eddie Guerrero, whatnot, or maybe somebody that hit close to home, like Spiro. Maybe somebody that sold some merch. There's so many, maybe a family member you had that loved wrestling. If you got a picture, send it to us, tweet it at us, at @CCG_WrestleCast. I'm going to be kind of compiling everything and making some sort of ofrenda, tweet it out, and probably present it here on the show as well next week. And hopefully this becomes some sort of yearly tradition where we can keep this going every year so that those that have touched our lives, family or friends, mostly friends in wrestling, are not forgotten. Because if you've seen Coco, you know what the final death is. It is a very true thing in Mexican tradition. You always want to remember your loved ones because if they're ever forgotten, they disappear forever. So, thank you everyone in advance for sharing your pictures. I hope to see a bunch of them because I want to really see. It's amazing just how much wrestling touches so many lives, and I would love for you guys to send that stuff. So, thank you everybody for joining in on us live as we talked about the state of Ring of Honor. We'll just have to wait and see how this all plays out. But until then, enjoy the Ring of Honor that you get on TV. Enjoy Final Battle, and if you find out that some ROH champion or some ROH talent is coming to your local promotion, go support them. Lord knows they need it because this was a shock to so many of them, and I'm sure they would love to hear how Ring of Honor touched their lives as well. So
I don't know if I think I forgot to mention this. I forget someone I know said they talked to a ROH wrestler. They didn't say reveal names, of course, but they said that they did not know about this until a fan told them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I will say Khan of STP will be wrestling this coming. No, I'm sorry. Next Saturday. Actually, Shane Taylor will be in Dallas on the 12th. I'm thinking I'm making it to that show. My dad might go up there. So yeah.
All right. Next week on the WrestleCast, we will preview AEW Full Gear, and we'll keep an eye on social media because if Shane Taylor keeps this up, maybe he will make a surprise appearance.